Welcome. Today it is vector and scalar, mainly vector. We'll be discussing vector. So what is vector? Normally vector is a physical quantity having both magnitude and direction is known as vector, such as displacement, acceleration, velocity, force, etc. Graphically, a vector represented by an arrow, and analytically it is represented by a letter by drawing a arrow over that letter. The magnitude of a vector, let us say the magnitude of a vector A is represented by mod A. This is magnitude. Okay, magnitude. This vector A also can be sometimes represented by like this. Let us say that OP arrow represents the vector. So the straight line OP in the direction of P. The vector is in the direction from O to P, so we represent that this OP, and also its magnitude also represented by the length of the straight line OP is equal to OP. Okay, now what is scalar? Normally scalar is a physical quantity that only had magnitude, no direction, is known as scalar. So what are the example of scalar? Such as mass, time, temperature, length. Those are the example of scalar. So let us say that we are discussing about vector and scalar. Now in case of addition and subtraction for scalar is very easy because we have to only consider the magnitude, but in case of vector it is quite different because we have to take into consideration the direction. So due to the presence of direction, we have to add vector in a different way. Normally that we do, what we do normally, 5 plus 5 is equal to 10, but in case of vector it may or may not be 10, may or may not be 10. Okay, that depend on the direction of the vector. So before we come to vector algebra, we have to know some fundamental concept. For example, the first fundamental concept is equal vector. What is equal vector? As you can see, there is two vector A and B. If they have the same magnitude, that means A is equal to B, then, and also the same direction, regardless of their initial position, will be equal vector. A and B, so two vectors A and B are equal if they have the same magnitude and direction regardless of the position of their initial points. Okay, so A vector equal to B vector. Next, opposite vector. As you can see, any two vector have the same magnitude but the opposite direction is known as opposite vector to the others. Let us say a vector having a direction opposite to that of a vector A. Then the opposite vector will be represented minus A by this vector. So these two vectors are opposite to each other. By adding a negative sign before a vector, we represent the opposite vector of that vector. Next, sum of or resultant of a two vector. Let us say this is vector A and this is vector B. By placing the initial point of vector B, this is the initial point, at the terminal, on the terminal of A, this is the terminal, and then joining the initial point of A, this is the initial point of A, and to the terminal point of B, this is the terminal point of B. Okay, we get the sum of two vector C, this is C. Okay, normally we write it down this way: A vector plus B vector, we get the C vector. Okay, now if the value of A is 5, let's say 5, and value of B is 4, it may or may not be 9. Okay, that's we discussed before that. In case of vector addition, we have to know about two types of law. One is triangular law, another is parallelogram law. By using those two laws, we can find out the sum of two vector. What will be the value? Normally it is represented that C mod C, only value, we are taking only value, equal to root over A square plus B square, value of A vector, value of B vector, plus 2AB cos theta, where this theta is the angle between the two vector. In this case, if we increase this line, this angle is theta. Okay, so we only wants to know what will happen in case of summation or sum of two vector. Geometrically it is represented by this A and B, sorry. Okay, okay. Okay, this is A vector, this is B vector, and this is C vector, and A vector plus B vector equal to C vector. Okay, next, what is the difference of a vector? Let us say two vector A and B. So difference of these two vector can be written as A vector minus B vector. So how do we find out the A vector and B vector? You see, we can write this like this: A vector plus minus B vector. So what is this? This is the opposite vector of B. So by adding A vector and the opposite vector of B, we find out the difference between A and B vector. Okay, so what are the law of algebra, vector algebra? So first law of vector algebra is, let us say, A vector plus B vector is equal to, we can write it down, B vector plus A vector. Second, A plus B plus C is equal to A plus B plus C. Third, it is MA, where M is a scalar, A is a vector. We can write it down this way: AM, where A is vector, M is scalar. Again, M plus N, A vector equal to M A vector plus N A vector, and lastly M A plus B, you can write it down, M A vector plus M B vector. These are the law of vector algebra. We can prove this law differently later. Just we have to remember this law. This law is called cumulative law of addition. This law is called associative law of addition. This is cumulative law of multiplication, and these two are distributive law. These two are distributive law.